And hello and welcome to Varsity Sports alongside Jason Andera. I am Jay Elson. We are now in the final weeks of the final season of the school year, Jason. Things get pretty intense at this point.
It does. Everything raises up a little bit. The baseball playoffs are underway. We've got track and field athletes who are making that final push, improving their times, getting ready for their state meets, and I can't wait to see how these next couple weeks unfold. We'll really see some big performances.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's kick things off tonight by sending it to Alex Heiner to recap some of the best meets in track and field from last week. Alex?
Let's start Thursday in Beersford at the Dakota 12 Conference Meets, the premier track and field conference in Class A in South Dakota. Big day for Madison's Jackson Yankee as the Class A leader in the triple jump would take the win at 44.5 in that event. He'd also win the long jump and run on Madison's winning 4x1 and 4x2 teams, both anchored by twin brother Jaden. The Bulldogs currently rank first in the state in both of those relays, but despite the success there, Madison would finish a distant second on the day in the boys' team standings behind a dominant group from Sioux Falls Christian. The Chargers would win 2 relays and the high jump with a 6.5 effort from DJ Feikstra. They'd also capture 6 of the 8 individual running events, including the sprint double from Parker Nelson in the 1 and the 2, and 2 big distance wins from Caleb DeWeird in the 800 and the mile. SFC piles up 176.5 points to take the DAC 12 boys crown, 77.5 more than second place. On the girls' side, lots of battles between Class A's best, starting in the 100-meter hurdles. West Central's Avery Schmeichel just gets the better of Tri-Valley's Chastity Lammer by 0.07 of a second. Those two are ranked 1-2 in Class A, just like T-Area and West Central in the 4x1. The Trojans got the win at Howard Wood last week, but Michaela Weavick and the Titans get a little payback here at conference, 51.16 seconds on their run, the second fastest clocking in the class this year. In the girls' team race, it would be Madison claiming the DAC 12 title once again behind a 200-400 double from Olivia Rude and strong relay performances all day. Well done to the Bulldogs, always a team to watch in Class A. The following afternoon, we had a great matchup of Sioux Falls versus Rapid City at O'Gorman's McEnany Field in the annual Rich Greeno Invitational, with both towns having their share of success on this day. In the field, no one in AA is better at the triple jump than Lincoln's Riley Heyer, and she'd go 37 feet even to take the title on Friday. She'd come up a 1/4 of an inch short in the long jump, though, as O'Gorman's Kelly DeWitt would just get the nod at 17 feet 3 3/4 inches. That would be the first of 3 wins on the day for DeWitt, each a little closer than the last. She'd take the 100 in 11.99 seconds, that's the fastest 100 in South Dakota this year, to just beat out Central's Hannah Young. Those two would go head-to-head later in the 200, with DeWitt somehow chasing Young down to get the win by 1/100th of a second. The margin of victory would be slightly bigger for Rapid City Stevens' Elizabeth Schaefer. She'd have another big day in the hurdles, beating a top field of challengers in the 100s before lowering her own platinum record in the 300s at 43.9 seconds. Schaefer wouldn't be the only runner from the Black Hills to pull a hurdles double, as Central's Tony Pierce would do the same on the boys' side. Pierce still ranks as the top hurdler in South Dakota in both the 110s and the 300s. Speaking of the state's best, Pierce's cobbler teammate Sage Hagan still holds the platinum spot in the triple jump. He put up another 45-foot-plus effort on Friday, taking the win at 45.6.5. The other big marks on the day all came in the sprints. Lincoln's Colin Bryson would put up a 10.96 to take the 100 by just 0.3 over Washington's Ethan McKinney. Bryson would then do something really special in the 200, racing to a 21.92 second clocking, good enough to take over the top platinum spot in the Dakotas, at least for the afternoon. From McEnany to Cushman in the Grand Forks Girls Track Classic, where, as you'd expect, Fargo Davies had another big day on the track. Freshman Sally Corgo continues her dominance in the hurdles as she takes the 100s and the 300s. She'll be one of the favorites in Class A in both of those events, just like her teammate Rose Gay in the 1 and the 2. Rose would go 12.4 to win the 100 and put up a North Dakota best time of 25.01 in the 200. The Eagles also strong in the mid-distances. Riley Wacha is only an 8th grader, but she throws down a 2:17.02 in the half Friday. That's second only to Grand Forks Central's Carly Ackley in Class A this year. Not bad company to keep. Like Wacha, Red River's Shelby Frank also knows all about achieving varsity success in middle school. She won a state title in the discus last year, just after her 8th grade graduation. Frank would take the disc Friday as well with a toss of 136.2, though she would outdo herself Monday at the Zimney Last Chance meet, setting a new platinum discus record with a monster throw of 149.6. Speaking of record breakers, West Fargo's Akili Moten would have another big day in the field as she'd win the javelin at 143.9, only 33 feet over state qualifying standards. She'd also take the shot put as well in 45 feet 10 inches, a mere 8 feet better than her competition. We finished Saturday in Huron at the ESD conference meet where the heavy winds would not ground Pierre's Addison Eisenbys. The junior would clear 5.5 and then PR at 5.7, the second best jump in the Dakotas this season. When you're Trent Frankham and you're on your home track, you do handstands to get mentally ready to go after state records. The Tiger senior would clear 15.4 to earn the conference title and would nearly go higher. Frankham will have 2 more chances to chase 16.1 and a new state record this spring. Stay tuned. Wind gusts up to 35 miles per hour lifted the sprinters to new heights as Harrisburg's Jack Anderson would take the 100 in a blazing 10.75 seconds, just a 100th off the top mark in the Dakotas this year. Same story for Brandon Valley's Krista Bickley as she puts up a 12.02 second run, only 600ths off our platinum record. The 100 just one of 4 event wins on the day for Bickley, 9 total for the Lady Lynx, as Brandon Valley would go on to win their 4th straight ESD girls team title by 37 points over second place Yankton. It would be a special day for the Lynx boys as well, led by Jacob Hanna, who took the 800, the mile, and the 2 mile, along with a pair of hurdle titles from Josh Donahoe and Wilson Colbeck. BVHS would go on to capture the ESD boys crown by 17 points over runners-up Watertown, the first conference title for the Lynx boys in several years. Only 3 new platinum marks were set this past week, though 2 were platinum records. You can hear more about those and see the rest of the top marks in the Dakotas on midcosn.com in our latest track and field blog. When we come back here on Varsity Sports, more track and field talk as we'll reveal the final high school coaches poll of the year. That's coming up next.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
Welcome back. Well, with high school state track meets looming next weekend in both Dakotas, we've checked back in with the coaches from the biggest classes in both states to find out who they think are going to be standing on top of the podium next Saturday evening. It's our second and final edition of the Midco SN High School Track and Field Coaches Poll. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to look like the edition that we had back in April. Not a lot of movement, especially in North Dakota where we're going to get started. In fact, 0 movement from 1 to 5 in both the boys and girls rankings. On the boys side, Bismarck Legacy still holds a slim advantage over 2-time defending champion Century for the top spot, but that margin has gotten even tighter in this last month. The Sabres picked up twice as many first place votes as the Pats, but they've not convinced everyone. A couple of third place votes for Legacy have kept this a close race, which is what we can expect it to be at the Community Bowl next weekend. Minot, by the way, was barely ranked 3rd over Bismarck in our April poll. They doubled up the Demons in points this time around. The Magicians, nearly everyone's pick to take the bronze after a really strong showing this past month. We had shock in the Class A girls in North Dakota as well, as defending champions Fargo Davies retained their top ranking by a pretty wide margin over Bismarck High. The Eagles pick up every first place vote but 1, further cementing their place as the team to beat. Bismarck the clear-cut choice for second, with Century and Red River a cut above the rest for 3rd and 4th. To South Dakota, where we finally get a little movement here. Lincoln's still the runaway favorite to capture their 3rd AA boys title in 4 years, but look who's the new number 2. Brandon Valley, fresh off an ESD title this past weekend, has taken over the 2nd spot from Rapid City Central. The coach is definitely starting to take notice that this Lynx team is for real. The Cobblers in Watertown go 3-4, and it's Roosevelt staying at 5, though we had 3 other teams within a point of the Riders for that last spot, a little bit murky at the bottom of the AA standings. We saved the tightest race for last. South Dakota's AA girls literally too close to call, as for the first time in any class, we have got a tie atop the rankings. Sioux Falls Lincoln and Brandon Valley deadlocked on points and first place votes, so the Pats and Lynx will share the #1 ranking going into the state meet. Remember, these two went 1-2 at state last year. They're the overwhelming favorites to do so again this time around, but obviously the coaches are not convinced the order of finish will stay the same. Rapid City Central maintains that 3rd spot, while Yankton moves up from 5th to 4th, with Stevens and O'Gorman now tied for the 5th spot.
All right, thank you, Alex. Coming up next now, Jody Norsted's going to take us to North Fargo to introduce us to a couple of teammates that are making the Spartans go this season. And welcome back to Varsity Sports. Well, the conference tournaments for North Dakota High School baseball begin 1 week from tomorrow.
That's right, Jay. And Fargo North has hopes of playing into June. For more on the Spartans, we toss it to our own Jody Norsted.
Thanks, fellas. Yeah, Fargo North is finishing up an impressive season, currently sitting at 2nd place in the EDC standings. But the postseason hasn't been all that much fun in recent years for Fargo North. The Spartans, the last 2 years, have entered the playoffs with promise, only to be denied a trip to state. In fact, last year, they didn't even score a run in 2 East Region playoff games. But the hope is that this year things will be different because of their fun-loving approach and some great team chemistry. Baseball is just a game. And that's how the Fargo North Spartans treat it.
We like to stay loose and just never get too tense about anything.
Gets our mind off the bad things like strikeouts or errors and gets our mind refreshed onto the next play.
Sure, it may look like a bit of a circus to an outsider, but inside the clubhouse, it works. They built a tight bond, and the best example comes in the form of the battery, starting pitcher Cameron Blazik and catcher Chandler Eibach.
We always talk before game, we get a pregame talking, and we try to focus in on each other, get on the same channel.
I think that's everything. Yeah, as a pitcher, if you're not trusting what your catcher's putting down, you're not going to be able to throw it as well as you want to.
It's a bond that has been strengthened over time. It all started when the two met on a travel team as 11-year-olds.
Me, Chandler, I was like, oh, who's this skinny little kid? And I found out he's the catcher, and I was pitching game 1. And
I thought he was a little crazy at first. His tenacity and anger on the mound to get people out really surprised me.
So we started working, and then I remember the first game, I just didn't like how he caught in something, and I think his knees were too close together or something really weird like that. And I kept telling him, like, hey, can you do this? And he's like, what does it matter to you? And it's just one of those, we get out each other, but then ever since then we've clicked.
That chemistry helped spark their youth teams to impressive postseason runs. In 2013, they won a state championship and went to the Babe Ruth World Series. In 2015, they were part of the first Fargo team to win a game at the Babe Ruth World Series. Along the way, they've seen their talents transform.
When we were really little, he was just a natural athletic kid, and he's really turned into a pure baseball athlete, and he's just gotten better at the little things that the everyday baseball player wouldn't notice or baseball watcher wouldn't notice, whether it's framing pitches or calling a great game. I have complete faith in whatever he puts down, I'm going to throw.
We're on the same page almost all the time, but if he doesn't like the call we take, then I know which pitch he wants next.
What they do on the mound and behind the plate is impressive, but so are their numbers in the batter's box. Eibach and Blazik are two of the top hitters on the team and lead the Spartans in home runs. Eibach with 4 and Blazik with 3.
You know, when he hits a home run, I'm just as happy, but then it's that, oh, maybe I can get one, and I can one-up him, but then I think he's the same way. When I hit one, he's, okay, I got to get one more, but it's really fun to know that you're never out of an inning, and it can happen at any moment of any pitch.
It's a spark definitely for the rest of the team, get their bats going. Everybody wants to hit a home run, right?
Of course, because home runs are fun, and that's what the Spartans are hoping to have even more of come playoff time. Fargo North plays its final EDC regular season games against Shanley tomorrow. When Varsity Sports returns, they call it a 4-bagger. But what do you call it when you hit 4 4-baggers in one game? Hear from the young woman behind this powerful swing next. It's been a busy few weeks on the baseball diamond throughout the state as teams continue to try to cram in games before the start of the playoffs. On Thursday, two teams trending in the right direction collided in an EDC showdown as Shanley hosted Davies in a battle of third and fourth in the East. The Deacons plated a run in the opening inning. Jake Fritz pulls a hit to right center, scoring Luke Sandy for a 1-0 lead. Top of two, Davies threatening with a runner on second, but Braden Koenig robs Jonathan Brooks of a base hit. And that's not all. Koenig throws it to Drew Sandy, who beats the runner to the bag for a double play. How about that for a web gem? In the bottom of the third, Shanley adds to its lead. Jake Fritz flares a base hit to left. Luke Sandy shows off his speed, hustling in to score from second to make it a 2-0 game. Two batters later, Koenig getting it done on the offensive end. Drills a single down the right field line to score Fritz and push the lead to 3-zip. The Davies offense didn't wake up until the fifth. Matt Veit's RBI single was part of a 3-run inning, but Shanley holds off the rally to win it 8-3 and later sweeps the series with a 12-2 win in Game 2. The Deacons move up a spot to 4 in my latest power rankings. Dickinson remains the top dog after a 6-0 week, including a sweep of Minot. North and West Fargo are tied in the loss column in the EDC standings, entering the final games of conference play. I still give North the edge, though. In Class B, nothing has changed with the top two. Thompson finishes the regular season undefeated and will be the top seed in Region 2. The Vikings will be the same in Region 1. The Lax Burlington drops a spot after losing 3 straight, and Mohall Lansford Sherwood cracks the rankings for the first time. Central Cass, the Squirrels are my honorable mention for the week. I think they're going to give Kindred Richland all it can handle in Region 1. A certain West Fargo Packer had the region buzzing on Thursday night. Sammy Doolin not only went 4 for 4 at the plate in Game 2 against Cheyenne, but she hit 4 home runs in those 4 at-bats. Likely the first time that's happened in state history. Doolin led off the game with a homer, then hit a 2-run shot in the second inning, a solo shot in the fourth, and a 2-run jack in the fifth. The Bemidji State commit says that 4th at-bat produced plenty of nerves.
I knew that that was opportunity, but as soon as I got to the box, I knew I had to clear my mind, because if I thought about that, then it wasn't going to go well. So I just cleared my mind, and when it went over and I rounded third, I knew that I hit the 4th one, and it was a little weird feeling, but felt good. Every at bat, I had more confidence going up to the plate. I knew I could do it. I knew I could hit the ball. So going up there, knowing you can hit, helps, obviously. We had our grad party yesterday, so I got a lot of comments on that. And then random kids at school that I've never seen before said stuff, so I'm like, thanks.
Now, Doolin hit only 3 home runs all of last year. She's up to 13 this season. Her teammate, Gabby Du Bois, hit a school record 16 a year ago. It only makes sense that Doolin and the Packers are still number 1 in my power rankings. They swept a pair of top 5 teams this past week in Cheyenne and Century. Looks like the Packers are destined for a 20th consecutive state championship. Cheyenne stays put at 2nd. Dickinson climbs back into the rankings thanks to an 8-game win streak. The Midgets have found their groove again, and that's scary for the rest of the teams in the West. The top 4 remain the same in Class B. Kindred Richland might be the only team that could contend with West Fargo in the state. The Vikings swept a trio of Class A opponents at the Jamboree this past weekend and enter the playoffs with a 13-0 record. Central Cass dominated the Class A competition too, sweeping their way over the weekend. Thompson is making noise at that 5 spot. The Tommies have scored 55 runs over their last 3 games. And with the playoffs finally getting underway, you guys, you know what that means. Plenty of drama. What a great time of year. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Jody. While the North Dakota playoff picture is shaping up, the South Dakota playoffs are already in motion. Find out which teams Jandy thinks are this year's true title contenders after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
And welcome back. The Roosevelt Rough Riders have taken the state by storm in spring baseball this season. They pulled off the unlikely feat of going 29-0 in the regular season. They've been the top team in the state all year for good reason.
Yeah, we've been talking about them a lot, but lurking in their shadow are the Pierre Governors. They finished their regular season at 16-1 with a sweep of the defending champs last Sunday. And we recently caught up with the Govs to see what's made them so successful this year.
No team plays perfect baseball, but I think that they've done up to that, most of the season, and I'm proud of them.
We've just swung well all year, and pitching's been great for us, throwing strikes, and defense was definitely a strong point this year. We got some good players in the field, and just overall, we're just been playing well.
We've been playing with each other for a long time. We have great team chemistry. We all get along very well. We hit the ball very hard. We throw strikes, do the little things right.
Pierre has not played the same quality schedule that a lot of other teams have in the state. That being said, they have all the tools to build a winner this year. Their pitching staff is deep, and they have some of the best power in the state, too. We saw it this weekend with a couple of home runs. Spencer Seringer, he leads the state in home runs. He hit one against Brookings, as well as another Michael Lusk, who put his first home run of the year over the fence. Really one of the best overall teams that Pierre has had. They've been so solid for years. But this year, I think they have a legit chance to compete with the top teams in this class.
Yeah, you say teams, but really it's Roosevelt. That's the measuring stick here. Remember, we are your home for the state championship game in Class A on May 27th. Jason and I are going to be broadcasting live from Sioux Falls Stadium. In Class B, the regional playoffs already underway. There are 16 teams alive for a chance to go to the state tournament in Sioux Falls. That one on May 29th. Here's a look at your bracket. Who are the favorites, Jason, to make it to Sioux Falls in your mind?
Region 3 is going to be super fun. Lennox keeps on winning close games. They got another 1-0 win in their last game of the regular season. Haven't lost this year. They have a rematch against Sioux Falls Christian, and the first time that they played, that was the closest they came to losing. Don't forget about West Central in this region as well. And in Region 4, we're so used to Winter Cologne and St. Thomas More. This year, no surprise, the number 1 seed in that region, Platte Geddes, Dakota Christian, White Lake, Corsica. How about that? The Honkers are going to
rolls off the tongue.
They're going to host the region tournament.
A lot of good stuff coming up in the next week and a half,
Yes.
2 weeks here, and we're looking forward to all that. But that is a wrap for tonight. For Jason Andera, Alex Heinert, and Jody Norstead, I am Jay Elson. Enjoy the games, everybody. We'll see you back here next week.